Hey, Alex, what's the weirdest thing you've ever wrestled?
Okay. I
Have you wrestled anything?
Do you want to wrestle right now?
I'll wrestle you right now. Arm wrestle?
Yeah, I'll take you on.
Ready?
All right.
Ready, here we go.
Wait, you gotta put your hand on the table.
All right.
Ready?
Set.
Go.
Fuck.
I win.
He's strong. He's a very strong
I
man.
wish I could prove that.
Yeah, they will never know.
Can I take a guess as to what the weirdest thing you've ever wrestled was?
Sure.
An alligator?
I've never wrestled an alligator.
Oh.
I just enjoy watching videos of people wrestling alligators.
Okay, so, yeah.
I've wrestled dogs. I've wrestled humans, but I've never wrestled any creatures.
When you told me to give you a word, and I said, okay, alligator, and you said, we started, and you're like, what's the weirdest thing I've ever wrestled? And it's like, well,
Yeah,
okay.
no, that was a good association.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah, working on what we have. This is better than what I was going to start this episode off with.
What were you going to start it off with?
I was going to talk about how these chairs suck.
Yeah, they do, actually.
Right?
Are
Okay.
these new chairs?
No, I've had them for years. So the big problem, well, they're also very uncomfortable. But the big thing with yours is that there's like screws missing in the bottom of yours.
I felt that.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Like so it wobbles. Mine, look at that.
Oh, it's just got a huge crack. Like
Yeah.
there's
Like-
there is no lumbar support.
Like
in that
if
one.
you lean back on this one, it feels like it's just gonna like snap.
That could be very bad.
Yeah,
That
so
could be very bad.
If you just on one of these episodes, you just hear like,
Boom. Well, and then we'll know that you're deceased.
yes, well, yeah, I'll know.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the 8th episode of the Weekly Undertaking. I am your host, Mike.
Yes, I'm Alex. It's a new week, new day, new everything.
New
Everything's
everything.
new.
And thanks
Except for these fucking chairs. Continue, please.
These are definitely new chairs. I've never felt
No.
the wobbles before.
No, you've had that chair every week.
Seriously?
Every week since we started, and we've had these chairs for years.
These chairs are freaking awful.
You see, I took this one. Sorry to go back to the chairs.
This is a big issue. This is a big issue.
I
here.
took this one because it was the better one, but then it started freaking out, and I was like, for like the last 3 weeks, I'm like, well, shit, I can't have him sit in this one because he doesn't know if he leans back and falls over. It would be great, but we're not recording video, so it'd be a waste.
For all those chair manufacturers out there, make sure that your chairs have guaranteed lumbar support because that's the most important support of the back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really blame the company. We've had them for just so long.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Well, so Alex, what was your week like? How was your week?
Well, I don't know. It was busy and shit.
Busy and shit?
Yeah, things happened. I did things.
That's very-
I'm a more complete human being than I was last week, but aren't we all?
I feel like that you're glossing over something. If it seems to be a productive week if you're a better person.
Well, no.
Valid.
I could have done nothing all week and felt bad about myself for not doing things and been like, well, now I'm a better person.
And now you're self-improved.
Yeah. I will tell you, this morning okay, so here's the thing. BoJack Horseman Season 5's coming out in a few weeks.
Is it really?
Yes, and I am so excited.
My friends have all recommended that show to me, but I've never...
We're binging it. We have Baby Driver and BoJack Horseman that we have to watch, and you gotta.
I feel, and BoJack Horseman is significantly less problematic because I don't think there's anyone that's been accused of anything in BoJack Horseman. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
But anyway, here's the thing. I watched season 4 this morning, or the last part of season 4 this morning. I watched other parts throughout the week, and it made me all sad and shit.
That's what I've heard about BoJack Horseman. That it's like
it's so like smart though.
Like it's geared towards being a comedy, and then it just gives you the middle finger.
Yeah, it's not about trying to make you sad. It's about giving you a show about harsh realities of life and our Hollywood culture, and letting you decide how that should make you feel. And it's interesting.
Damn, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah, but then they'll also have like a sheep mowing the grass with its mouth, like. They
just stupid, corny, hysterical bits like that.
Like stupid animal jokes.
Right. All right. Well, in the midst of your BoJack Horseman watching and other busyness that made you a better person, were you able to complete the challenge from last week?
Yes, barely.
Yes, me too.
There were a few podcasts I really didn't Oh yeah, this whole week we challenged ourselves to listen to the same 7 podcasts.
Right, so that we'd have conversation fodder to discuss. And well, did you enjoy the podcast that you listened to?
I enjoyed most of them.
Mm-hmm.
I can easily say there wasn't one I didn't think was bad.
Okay.
I thought they were all good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I will be listening to most of them again, though.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few that I will be listening in very often.
That's very fair.
But to be fair, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also just not a podcast listener.
That's strange considering you now run a podcast.
Well, yeah, I run 50% of a podcast.
It's very true, but still.
No one wants to listen to a guy talking to himself. Well, that's not true.
We all our listeners are are listening to 2 people talking to themselves.
Yeah, that's my point.
Okay.
How was your week?
It was good. I had less productive. I did not do as much productive things. I'm bad with the words.
Yet you're a better person because of it.
Sure. Let's go with that. But yeah, I did a lot of walking this week because I've realized that listening to podcasts sitting down is not something that I am physically capable of.
Oh my god, I did that this morning and I was like, why am I here? Why am I not outside?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I regret it. I thought it was going to rain.
Mm-hmm.
It did not.
It didn't.
Yeah, and I was up pretty early and I was like, oh, go, but I didn't. That's my story.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing it.
So we got to talk about these podcasts.
Yes, and the podcast that we listen to, in no particular order.
I'll pull up the list.
Thank you. I was going to go from memory. Are Fat Man on Batman.
Yes.
The Last Podcast on the Left.
Yes.
Stuff You Should Know.
Yes.
Heaving Bosoms.
Yes.
You like that one, I can tell.
I love that name. Heaving Bosoms.
Spirts.
Yeah, okay.
Improv for Humans. And the NoSleep Podcast.
The NoSleep Podcast.
One word, no sleep.
Yeah, I couldn't find it on Spotify because of that.
True. And you also had trouble finding Improv for Humans. It's improv, the number 4, and the word humans.
I knew the number 4 because it's improv and they do shit like that.
They
the
do,
number 4.
Yeah, it's wacky, it's zany, it's just fitting. Mm-hmm.
And I used hyphens and spaces. I couldn't find it.
Right.
But I did eventually. So that was one of the more recent ones I listened to.
Okay, so what one would you like to start the discussion with?
Well, geez, that's a wonderful question, Michael. How about Stuff You Should Know? That's the first one I listened to.
That is also the first one I listened to.
Really?
Yes. And also I don't feel bad about saying bad things about this podcast.
No, we'll be critiquing them.
Well, also
critiquing them.
Some of these are more popular than others, and Stuff You Should Know happens to be like the number 3 podcast in the world.
Exactly. So what do they care?
They really don't.
Like, it's like we can bash them all we want, and they'll be like, well, stay over there with your 5 listeners.
Exactly. So what did you enjoy or not enjoy about Stuff You Should Know?
I really liked it. Was very factual and informative.
Mm-hmm.
And specific, and I like those types of things.
Right.
The big problem with it's not even a problem, it's just something that derives from a podcast like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's... I wouldn't listen to all of these.
No.
I wouldn't listen to all the podcasts. If I would see something, a topic that I was either already informed on to see if I could learn more about it, or something I've always been interested in learning about. Like they had a Twinkie one that I listened to.
Really?
That was awesome.
I did not listen to the Twinkie one. That sounds awesome.
That was great.
But so what was it? Was it just like a lot of trivia about Twinkies?
It was the history combined with trivia throughout. Like a fun fact I learned is they started out as like banana flavored, like Twinkies.
That sounds disgusting. Why would you ever eat a banana flavored Twinkie when you could just eat a banana?
Well, a Twinkie.
Okay.
So it's like. Then like later in there, like, so it's like, you have these people who say they've had Twinkies like that were like the first ones ever made and they last forever. It's like, that wouldn't be true because then they'd be banana flavored. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't know I needed to know.
I mean, that seems to be like the kind of precise, idiosyncratic fact that would drive me nuts at a party.
Which one did you listen to?
I listened to one about how castles are made.
Ooh.
And that was... Listen, I love learning new things. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was going to enjoy this podcast. I really didn't.
Really?
Because, I don't know, I just found it plain boring.
You know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see what you're going for with. And compared to some of the other podcasts, I'd say there's personality, but it's bland personality.
Exactly.
It's like, it's facts first, and then, like, personal stuff takes a back seat.
Right.
And I take pride in this show because we get all up in each other's personal lives. Like, we wasted the first 7 minutes of this episode just
talking about our wrestling history.
And the chairs.
And the chairs.
And the bird you... Oh, I didn't mention the bird you jacked off.
Oh, yeah, no, I did jack off a...
Don't go into it any further than that.
Are you sure?
Michael Dormer jacked off a bird.
You're absolutely correct. I did. It's misleading, but I did.
I did set up the scenario so that I would be able to say that.
Is that the sole purpose of why you did it?
I was like, oh, I got this bird, you gotta jack it off. I'll put it on Michael's side of the desk.
Okay, I think that we should inform them now, because now that we've talked about it for 30 seconds... It's...
Podcast, take a back seat.
Yeah.
It's time for the random shit that this podcast consists of. Like,
primarily, yes.
50% at least.
It is a toy bird that when you move it in a jack-off-ian motion...
Which Michael was really good at.
It starts to tweet. It makes bird sounds like this. So yes, I jacked off a bird and it made a lot of noise and it seemed to enjoy it.
When I go to sleep, I'm going to be like picturing that, like you doing that motion in my head, and I'm just like, okay,
I think
that's in my head forever now.
I think that says a lot more about you than it does about me.
Well, okay.
Anyway, getting back to the podcast.
Stuff you should know.
Stuff you should know. What are the Josh and Chuck are the two guys, right?
Josh and Chuck.
And these guys are absolute geniuses. I should say that.
Because if they're not geniuses, you can't do a podcast like that.
Very true. And I should say, actually, that's a thing with podcasts in general. Like, the people giving them are very smart. Like, Stuff You Should Know, these guys seem... I would assume that they're history experts.
Something along the lines of research-oriented.
Spirits, which we'll get to later,
yes.
is hosted by two people that have studied myths.
Yes.
And things like that.
That's my phone.
Oh, God, that's bad. That's very unprofessional.
I'll call him back later.
Okay, was that your grandma?
That was my grandpa. My grandma passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've mourned for many years.
Anyway,
this podcast is dedicated to my grandma. I miss you.
Rest in peace. So Spirits is hosted by two people that have studied myths extensively. Improv for Humans is hosted by Matt Besser, who is a figure that has reformed what improv is.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we're just two idiots talking about things that we did the past week.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I do actually have one grandma that's still alive, and I should elaborate on that, just in case she listens to this, and she's like, what? I'm very much still here.
I'm around.
And I have two grandpas. But yeah, my one grandpa. Yeah, I agree, though. I think that our...
Shout out to Alex's grandma.
Sorry. I had to make that... I think
it's important to clarify who's living and who's not.
The thing I like about the like our podcast that we do, and that's something I learned from Stuff You Should Know. It's like we have like specific topics we talk about each week, but it's not like we know shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, it's like you're coming here to learn. No. You're coming here to be entertained, and if you're not entertained by us, then there's no point really in being here other than hearing the fun challenges we come up with, because they're fun.
They are fun, and I hope that we have good voices that people like listening to.
I mean, I like my voice.
Yeah,
but I also don't
too.
have to listen to it.
Valid.
Yes.
Valid.
And yeah, I mean, our podcast,
Excuse me.
Michael coughed. Our purpose of this podcast is not to inform people, it's to better ourselves.
No.
With a couple of laughs along the way.
True point. No one listening to this should come here to learn something, because literally we don't know anything. We have negative knowledge.
Well, we both have like degrees.
Yeah, but so what? We also went in debt to pay for those degrees. So
back to the podcast.
Yes, sorry. These people are very smart, and it is interesting to learn about a lot of castle and Twinkie oriented things. But
I think a lot of the judgment coming here is the structure of the actual podcast and not the information given, because obviously
True.
it's very accurate and very informative.
And yes, and I came away a smarter person, but
Yes.
you know, I think the witty banter of some of the other podcasts is what made me enjoy them more.
Yes, and excellent segue to the next one I'm going to not allow you to pick
Fair enough.
in order. The second podcast I listened to, and my absolute favorite one of this entire week, spoiler alert, is the last podcast on the left.
Really? I thought you were going for Heaving Bosoms there.
No. Well, I will fucking say I love Heaving Bosoms all day and not elaborate on what it is.
Okay, fair enough. I actually, last podcast on the left was also my favorite.
Yes. Let's talk about this one.
Yes. So, Stuff You Should Know is pretty self-explanatory in the title. The last podcast on the left, I'll actually read the Spotify description for.
Yeah, because you will get nothing from that title.
Right. The last podcast on the left covers all the horrors of our world to offer both imagined and real. From demons and slashers to cults and serial killers, the last podcast is guaranteed to satisfy your bloodlust.
Their words, not ours. That's
Correct.
how they describe their own show.
And it's accurate. And we didn't include this one on the list, but I'm a big fan, and I listen to the true crime podcast, My Favorite Murder, which is hosted by Karen Kilgareth and Georgia. I forget Georgia's last name.
Okay.
But
well, sorry, Georgia.
Right. My point is that I am a fan of true crime in general, but the last podcast on the left is definitely my favorite true crime.
It's great. You know what? These guys really make murder fun.
That they do. Yes, they... But which one did you listen to?
I listened to the 3-part series about Richard Kuklinski.
Dude, I listened to the exact
Really?
same fucking thing. Yeah.
The Iceman.
All 4.5 hours of...
So good.
It was worth it.
Like, I first I listened to one about, I forget her last name, but this woman, Catherine something.
Yeah, that's the series they're doing right now.
The more recent one. And that was interesting, and by the end of it, I was like, wow, I'm really interested in this. The chemistry these people have talking to each other, it's good. They have one who's specifically a voice actor.
Yeah, which
he
just loves doing fucking voices.
So great.
Well, I think they're all comedians. I don't know that for a fact.
They must be.
I think they all do. They talk about stand up and improv during their during the Richard Kuklinski one. So I think they're comedians.
They're great, and this is the one where it's like. I don't have any specific... I didn't have any specific interest in learning about Richard Kuklinski exclusively. But when I heard this first episode with that Catherine, I was like, well, I really want to listen to more. And I found that 3-part series.
Right.
Excuse the giant truck driving nearby. And I listened to all 3. That was the one I walked around town listening to. And going cheerily, merrily walking down the street.
While you listen to this guy talk about using
the
ice
brutal
picks.
murder.
Yeah.
Take the fascination in cyanide and the spray.
Yeah, and they're... Oh my god, he's
what a story.
Maniac. I love that story. He's for those that don't know, he's a hitman, and they go to great lengths in the podcast to emphasize how much the movie that they made with Michael Shannon
was not accurate
at all, and that they made him seem sympathetic, which, I mean, you can't really make a hitman / serial killer seem sympathetic.
I mean, maybe they did.
Maybe.
I mean, I care about Deadpool.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's more of a mercenary.
He's also fictional.
Well, yeah.
that there's a big difference.
So
in
is
that
the
one.
character that so is the Iceman in the movie, apparently.
Right, because it's so damn inaccurate.
Yeah. But dude, this is the one more than any other that I will be listening to a lot more when I have time.
I absolutely agree. They're genius. I don't know what their background is in true crime or if they're just fans of it, but it's so much fun, and I learned so much, and part of it is because, it's bloody and gory, and that's inherently more interesting because we're people that for some reason are attracted to that.
Yeah, it's something that everyone wants to hear and learn about, but no one wants to partake in. Well, not no one.
Right.
But the average everyday person who's not convicted for murder would love to learn more about.
Exactly. And I think that, I give these 5 out of 5 stars.
Yes, I agree. And this I wanted to compare this one to Stuff You Should Know because both are very informative in similar ways in that
very accurate.
Both come away learning a lot about a subject I didn't know. But I found myself loving the last podcast on the left so much more. I think because of that personality and that almost like that performance aspect to it.
I absolutely yeah, I 100% agree, and I think part of that, to be fair, is that the last podcast on the left comes with a story element.
Yes.
That Stuff You Should Know does
That's
not.
That's true. You can't really turn Twinkies into a story.
I mean, but there is a story.
There is a story, but you can't. It's Twinkies.
It's not really that entertaining.
Stuff You Should Know, yeah, but
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so listen to the last podcast on the left. That's the Oxymorons, the Weekly Undertaking.
Seal of approval.
Stamp. All right.
I'm gonna have to fix that in editing.
I think so.
So,
yes. Okay. So
you pick one.
I pick one.
Yeah,
okay.
We got 5 left, and we're already at minute 20.
Oh shoot, you're right. All right. Well, so another story one. I'll just go with that. Is No Sleep, which I listened to. Thank you. I listened to that one last night, and that's a horror anthology podcast.
Okay, let me ask. Did you get to sleep after that?
I did.
Wow. They lied.
Exactly. It's a very misleading title.
Yeah.
Your circadian rhythm will not be disrupted after listening to this.
So I saw No Sleep when we were looking for podcasts, and I you might have saw it. You saw it, and you said, "How about No Sleep?" And I am a fan of their Reddit page.
There's a Reddit page?
Yeah, it's basically what we listen to, but on typed on Reddit.
Oh, so then it's just creepypasta instead of voice acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And gonna be honest here, I like the Reddit page more.
Really?
Mainly because I don't know which one you listened to this week, but I found it a little cheesy. Like a lot of cheesy.
I don't disagree, because of the ones that I listened to were not particularly they didn't blow me away. But I will say I was impressed by it from a technical perspective.
The performance aspect, that was all great. I just found hearing parts of the story where I was like, if I was reading that, I would definitely sound less stupid in my head. Not stupid, but...
See, I felt the opposite, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because, I don't know. We discussed this partially before, but no, the reason that I'm a big horror fan, and I read all those creepypastas, horror books, and stuff like that, and I don't know, I think that the, hearing the fear, hearing the screams, instead of just there was a blood-curdling scream, the fact that you hear the scream, I don't know, that adds something to it.
Well, then it comes to this whole talk about, writing versus film, where writing is more interpretable. You can make your own world, set the setting however you want, and in a horror story, you can adjust the setting to be the most creepy thing you can imagine.
Yes.
Based on the details. With this, I mean, it's better than film, I guess, in certain ways, because you still get to make the picture, and I found myself creating the scene in my head, which is great. That's what you need. But I think it's also just the ones I listened to. There were 2 very cliche-ish types of stories. There was one... I'm just going to keep talking.
Go for it.
There was one where two girlfriends got run an antique shop together.
I listened to this one also.
God damn it!
We listened to we literally listened to the same fucking 7 podcasts. And the doll. Yeah.
At least we did Stuff You Should Know differently.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we could have listened to some of the other ones, but yeah. So stuff. I mean. Yes.
Basically, there was a doll. They bought it. It had no face. It was creepy. There was a nice twist at the end that I appreciated.
I agree.
But I think at this point, just the doll thing is just so overrated. And it would be super creepy in real life. And maybe even if I saw the doll on a screen, or if I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, as a big scaredy cat, it did not scare me. Okay,
well, I will say this. As a horror aficionado, that story gave me the creeps a little bit.
Really?
I mean, dolls in general do, but that one more so than the other one that they had
with the web and the computer.
Yeah, something about 2 people hack on to download an illegal stream and everything goes bad.
Yeah, it's it's a message about pirating, but they downloaded a file specifically to do something equivalent of drugs, which means it wasn't really stolen from anything.
Right.
Which means it's not pirating, it's just downloading something shady.
Right.
Which the whole thing, the computer aspects didn't line up in a way that seemed realistic to me, and obviously it's not realistic. But I don't know. I think it's also just we're in the transitional period of technology where it's like, how do we incorporate these things into our stories and make them like work?
Right. And so I will say this though, while the stories themselves left a bit to be desired, the actual audio, the music, the voice acting, the production was incredible
through the roof,
and that blew me away.
It's movie quality. Just and it makes sense that they charge for their full episodes,
right?
But they if it keeps going in the pattern that we listen to, it's like you get 2 free stories a week, and then you can pay to get the other 3.
To get the other 3, yeah.
Which is, I'd say that's a fair deal. I don't know their price.
Right, I don't either.
If I was really into it, I would definitely pay it.
So, rating, I would say on NoSleep is, personally, I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
I would not give it a number because that's arbitrary.
Fair enough.
I would say I did enjoy it for what it was. But it's not something I will go back to often.
Fair enough.
But do check out their Reddit page. That shit is awesome, and people come up with some weird stuff.
Very true, very true. And I guess since we'll go with the horror romance thing that we have going on here, I'm gonna ask you a couple yes or no questions.
Okay.
Heaving Bosoms.
Heaving Bosoms.
You chose this one, right?
Yes. So, wait, can I give the story about how I chose this one? It's going to be a long podcast. Let's just accept it at this point.
True, but the reason you chose it is because you just looked for the most perverted title of a podcast.
Well, yeah, but what I found first was a podcast called Will You Accept This Rose? Little shout out to that.
True, that was a Bachelor one.
And I didn't listen to it. It's about The Bachelor. Their artwork is really not good, coming from a designer. It's really terrible. Call me, by the way.
Are you talking about
Will You Accept This Rose?
Okay.
People, because I will redesign something for you that looks a lot better. But
plug for your business. Yeah, just go for it.
I was like, I saw that title. I was like, oh hell yeah, we gotta listen to this. And then I pressed play, and then they said, this podcast is brought to you by Heaving Bosoms. I was like, whoa, what?
He didn't even let them get to the theme song.
I stopped that podcast, and I didn't even look it up. I'm like, hell yeah, Heaving Bosoms.
True enough. So,
and it turns out,
I'll read again. I'll read the description that they have on their Spotify page.
Read the full title first.
All right. Heaving Bosoms, a romance novel podcast.
Oh yes.
Best friends and romance aficionados, Erin and Melody, giggle about a new romance novel each week. We take ourselves very seriously.
They made an emphasis to do very in all caps.
In all caps.
And I love the inclusion of the word giggle.
Yeah, I haven't heard that word in a very long time.
Yeah.
It's a fun word to say.
It's a hit or miss word, and I think they hit the mark here.
Yeah, definitely.
It fits with the ambiance of their podcast.
Okay,
very well.
So I will ask, what was your experience listening to Heaving Bosoms, the romance novel podcast?
It was a good time. It was fun.
Really?
Like, so I did this one this morning because I wanted to save it for last, and I'm so glad I did.
Okay.
So the one the one I listened to was How to Flirt with a Werewolf Part 2.
Oh, I didn't listen to that one. Okay, cool.
So I didn't realize it was the second part of them discussing this specific novel until I started. I was like, well, I'm already invested.
I'm going for it.
Listening. And it sounds like I didn't miss too much.
Okay.
But it's so good. Like, they talk about these books in any way that anyone who's a fan of something would talk about something. Like, with the understanding that it's like a little stupid. It's like your classic Twilight ripoff type thing.
They are very self-aware.
Werewolf lover,
right?
Scent on the woman, so no other werewolves will come near her.
Okay.
And I don't know. They talk about it in a way that got me really into it. It's like, I mean, honestly, I was a little horny from listening to that.
All right. Well, that wasn't my experience. We talked
then Michael came over and jacked off the bird, and I felt a lot better.
You felt a lot better.
I was like, okay,
relieved the tension.
All sexual tension gone,
just by watching the bird
for the next few weeks. I'm good.
All right,
no, nothing more.
I'm
please.
glad I was able to satisfy you. You're welcome. So I am not a fan of romance novels.
Of course,
I thought I was going to hate every moment of this, and I will say, I actually enjoyed this one.
Yeah, a few days ago I asked you to give me your review in one word, and your word was better.
Right.
And then you added than unexpected. And I was like, well, that's not one word.
Well, I mean, the other two words I would use to describe this are girl talk. It's just a podcast of girl talk, but that is inherently interesting because it's two people having fun. So that's kind of why I enjoyed it.
It's very obvious that the two people that do that show, Aaron and Melody, know each other very well.
They do.
And are very good friends.
Yes.
Like us.
Yeah, exactly. I hope we're as entertaining as they are. But the one that I listened to was a novel called Let's Get Textual.
Ooh,
which
that sounds like a good romance novel.
They weren't fans.
They didn't like it.
Well, actually, one was okay with it, one wasn't. I'm not sure which voice was Aaron and which voice was Melody.
I don't think they addressed each other by their names a lot, Michael.
Right.
That's very important so that they can so that the audience can determine who is who, Michael. Isn't that right, Michael?
I agree, Alex. That is astute observation, Alex.
Oh, you're using my name too much. Michael, come on. Okay,
I'm
back
sorry.
to Heaving
I'm
Bosoms.
sorry,
What were you
Alex.
saying? It's okay, Michael.
But I was impressed. This is not something that I am interested in any sense. Romance novels, girl talk at all. I'm not really a part of that, as you know, we are two straight men.
Well, now I see myself putting this on when I'm sad.
When you're sad,
cheer myself up.
You know what?
Here's some corny romance novels.
I actually agree with that.
People talking about it makes me just made me like happy.
And the reason why I agree with that is not because it's funny, which there are some good laughs in there.
There are some good laughs, but it's not like a comedy podcast. It's a feel good podcast.
Exactly. There's joy in it. So I found myself actually enjoying Heaving Bosoms when I thought that I wouldn't.
It's it's an environment that's like, come one, come all, come enjoy our passion with us, and that's all I ask out of people who do shows of any kind. It's like, if you tell me about something you love and you genuinely care about it and you really show that, then I can't say anything bad about you.
Exactly.
Even if I don't like the thing you're talking about, which I'm indifferent to romance novels.
You like romance movies more than novels.
I do like watching the occasional romance movie. I got really into them before we did that Undertaking a few weeks ago.
That's valid. Yes, you did. Yeah, but I will say the one that makes the podcast that I would go to make me feel good would be Improv for Humans.
Oh, okay.
I was a part of an improv troupe in college. I hope to continue my improv education, but I freaking love
That's why I did the alligator thing in the beginning.
That was terrible improv.
It was really bad, but I was also not much help.
Yeah. Yes, and Alex, support always.
Go on, talk about your Improv for Humans podcast.
Okay. Before
I dig my teeth into it.
Right. Okay, so Improv for Humans is produced and hosted by Matt Besser, one of the original UCB4. The Upright Citizens Brigade was a group of 4 improvisers, including, most famously probably, Amy Poehler. And they came to New York, and they started what's now known as the Upright Citizens Brigade, and it's a improv education place, and they're located throughout Manhattan, the different places where it is. But I'm a huge fan of improv, and essentially Matt Besser takes famous comedians, or at least famous improvisers, onto the podcast, and then they do an improv set. They essentially they talk to each other, and they get inspired, and then they do a long form improv scene, and then after that scene is done, they talk some more, and they do another one. There's probably typically 5 or 6 improv scenes.
Is there? Of it. I've only listened to one.
One scene or one
podcast? One podcast.
Okay.
Let me ask you. Is it always like a song?
No, they occasionally have bands to come and inspire them.
That's the one. That's one of the ones I listened to.
Well, I think that was the Pedro the Lion one, right?
Pedro the Lion one.
Never mind. They had one where Pedro the Lion came on.
That wasn't it then.
And they played and they were inspired and stuff. And that was one of the more recent ones. So that's the one I thought you'd listen to. They aren't always inspired by songs. They're mostly just inspired by their own conversations and things like that. Are you looking for the one that you were listening to?
Was it this one? It might have been that one. I really do not.
Horatio Sands. He was on SNL.
Yeah, it might have not been that one. I genuinely don't remember which one I listened to, and I feel bad about that. But Let me
It's okay.
say, I will give this podcast a few more tries because I did not like it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry to say that.
I am too.
But you have to keep in mind, improv people, that, again, I only listened to one episode, and there was music that I thought broke the flow of the cast a little bit.
Okay.
And what I'm going to say now, I didn't think it was funny.
Really?
I didn't laugh.
I'm sorry.
And I was upset about that. I was more upset at myself. It's like, what's wrong with me? But
Well,
I'm genuinely going to give it another try because
Okay, good.
despite the fact that I didn't physically laugh or think it was terribly funny, I did enjoy the community there.
Right.
And
Okay.
it was for me, it was like another one of those feel-good things.
Okay. I agree with that.
And I still say give it a try, especially if you like improv.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a Michael.
Thank you. I'm
Because
a huge
Michael is the one that likes improv, and I'm Alex, the one talking with this weird voice.
fan. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Alex. I will say though, I saw them live, and that's actually
cool.
I didn't know about the podcast. I was just at a place where improv was being done, and they were doing a thing. So I saw them live, and they did a very good show live, and so I decided to take this opportunity to actually listen and enjoy. And I very much enjoyed.
Okay, that's very good.
Alright.
I've also not gotten too far into the world of improv. I watched Whose Line Is It Anyway a bunch of times, and I love them.
They're good, but they're a different kind of improv than
I like that improv.
really the short form games and all that.
I do like that a lot.
Okay.
But I've never really gotten into long form improv that
There we go.
much before. But
Yeah.
I've never seen you and your troupe perform, and I do want to.
Fake friend.
I do really want to. I've known you longer than any of them.
Yeah, fake friend. Not able to support. No, I'm kidding.
It's like we're not even in the same room.
Yeah. No, they're good. My improv troupe is the Bad Astronauts of St. John's University. They're awesome. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah, nice self-plug.
You plugged your graphic design business earlier in the...
I didn't give them a website, alexshearportfolio.com.
Now we've both prospered.
Now we're even.
From this podcast. All right. This is going on very long. Let's go through the other two pretty quick.
We have Spirits and Batman on Batman.
Okay, so
pick your poison.
Well, Spirits, let's just go with that first. We'll read it. Spirits is a boozy weekly podcast about mythology, legends, and lore. Hear fresh takes on classic myths and learn new stories from around the world. Served up over ice by two tipsy history geeks. I will say, I enjoyed this podcast. I thought this was somewhere in between Stuff You Should Know and Last Podcast on the Left.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
That's a great way to describe it.
As far as it's very intellectual.
Yes.
But it's also
entertaining.
Yeah,
and
it's
has
very fun.
personality.
Exactly.
It's the best of both worlds. It's like a drink that combines two things that are very strong on their end and mixes it into one. You see how I did the drink thing? Because they drink.
I can tell that you're a great alcohol fan.
I know like one beer I like, and that's it.
Exactly. But yeah, no, yeah. The one that I listened to, they talked about Paul Bunyan, they talked about what they call fake lore, which is folklore made up to promote a product or company.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so Paul Bunyan was made to promote the lumber industry in the United States. And
wow, yeah.
They talked about some others, but that's what it is, and so I recommend that one. That one was very informative and very fun.
That's really cool. I listened to one about sharks.
Sharks?
Yes.
So like Jaws or Sharknado?
No, they mentioned Sharknado.
Oh, good.
But an actual, I think I picked one of the more factual ones, and I still very much enjoyed it. Because, facts are lame. They
fucking nerds.
They had a shark expert on, whose name escapes me, forgive me.
It's okay. They don't list their names in the name of the podcast.
She was very, very smart, and she talked about basically the ramifications of movies like Jaws and the effect it had on the shark world, and how sharks are still seen as like super terrible, dangerous things to people. And they call it she calls when a human and a shark mix in the water, run into each other, not a shark attack, but a shark encounter. Because attack gives negative connotations on the shark and how it was trying to attack the person. It has no
it doesn't want
desire to attack people. It's always just a misunderstanding.
Right, and I will say, I read a statistic a while ago, I hope it's accurate, but I read a statistic that each year in the United States, more people die from falling on their toilets than they do from shark attacks.
I've heard lightning.
And cows.
Lightning and cows.
Yes.
You're more likely to be killed by one of those two things than a shark. And those statistics are true because the smart shark lady said so.
Okay, good. I trust the
Sorry,
smart
I'm
shark
breaking
lady.
Your name down to smart shark lady. I really don't remember your name.
I'll
put it in the description.
Great. And I will say though, smart shark lady sounds like a very bad superhero. But
oh my god, I'd watch that.
The smart shark lady and her friend,
the actual hosts of the show.
Aquaman. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that one was great. It's called Spirits. It might be a little hard to find because it has a generic name.
But it's good. It's got
It has the green champagne martini glass with an olive in it. That's actually a skull. Yes. That's a really cool logo. That's why I picked it.
That's a badass logo.
I liked the logo. I was like, let's listen to this one.
And finally, for us to discuss
the one you liked before we started this.
Yes,
Undertaking.
This one I have listened to many times. It's called Fat Man on Batman. So Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard. I don't know why Kevin Smith is only in the title. It just says
Kevin Smith.
Well, Kevin Smith and
He's the one who talks more.
Well, he's the more famous one, I think, because Kevin Smith directed, Clerks and Dogma and things like that. But Kevin Smith passionately discusses The Dark Knight and other Caped Crusader creators. Ooh, say that 3 times fast. And fans.
Other Caped Crusaders creators? Wow.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister.
Caped Crusader creators.
Yeah.
Caped Crusader creators.
Okay.
Caped Crusader creators.
I
did it.
I didn't actually mean for you to do it.
Well, I'm sorry. Am I wasting time, Michael? Am I wasting time, Michael?
A little bit.
Am I wasting time, Michael?
Alex, we're at 42 minutes.
Am I wasting time, Michael? Fat Man on Batman.
Right, Fat Man on Batman. I will say, though, the podcast is a little misleading in that form because it's expanded far beyond Batman. They actually only rarely talk about Batman. It's more of superhero and other pop culture news that Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard discuss.
Yeah, it's not... I didn't hear Batman once, except for the title.
Exactly. And I also will say, since the beginning of the podcast, both Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard have lost a lot of weight, so they're not fat men anymore. Exactly. But yeah, really like this podcast.
So basically, it wins the title for most misleading podcast name ever.
I mean, yeah.
You still get the gist, though.
You still get the gist.
Like nerd discussing nerd culture.
Yeah, and I really like this podcast for a couple reasons.
Give me them.
Well, one among them is both Kevin Smith and Mark Bernard have a lot of experience with making stuff. Like Kevin Smith I said he was a director. He also worked on Supergirl, the TV show.
I like Supergirl.
It's a very good show.
Trucks going by, making noises.
We should probably move this podcast away from the road.
But what are we gonna do? We have to buy an office or something. We have to have income for
and
that.
we don't have money.
No.
Anyway,
we're working on it.
And Mark Bernard wrote Castle Rock, or he was one of the writers on Castle Rock, which is
Aren't all castles made out of rocks, though?
You know what? I listened to the stuff you should know about castles. I should know this.
That's why I asked.
Actually, no. One of the facts I learned is they started out being made of stone, and then cannons came around, and they were able to bust through the stone, so they moved to earth. And they started making the castles out of earth. And
you actually had an answer. All right, stuff you should know, less hate to you.
Yeah.
I genuinely liked it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I hate it, but...
what I did like is the one we're talking about now, or should
Batman
be.
on Batman.
Batman on Batman,
exactly.
I like that one. As per your recommendation, I listened to the Infinity War one with the writers.
Oh, that was such a good episode.
That was awesome. I was confused at first because there was no Infinity War talk in the beginning. Right. And then I realized, they do news first. And then they bring on the main course. It's like an appetizer.
Right. Well, I will say most podcasts don't include an interview. It's just news and Q&A, which is interesting in and of itself because, like I said, their interpretations are great. You get to listen to geek stuff, and it's fun banter.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason I didn't skip the news stuff is because it was genuinely interesting to me.
It is fun.
Also, I happened to listen to one. I think it was the Deadpool 2 and solo one. I don't think I finished it.
Oh yeah, I listened to that one.
But they were talking about the Penn and Teller bit you showed me.
Oh, with the upside down. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I saw that with my... Oh, he planned this.
That was the definitely did not. Yeah.
And he made one joke because his name, Kevin Smith, talks a lot more on that show.
Mm-hmm. He's a very talkative guy.
And he made this joke. It's just like, Penn and Teller... Penn, if you don't know them, Penn's the one who... can't stop talking, and Teller's the one who never opens his mouth. I wonder, that reminds me of something. I wonder what...
Well, actually, he wasn't referencing the podcast.
Really?
No,
I feel less smart now.
I'm sorry. No, his I think it was Clerks. One of his characters that he plays is called Silent Bob.
Oh.
And so the two of them, I think it's Jay and Silent Bob. Jay talks all the time. Silent Bob's just kind of there, and Silent Bob is hysterical, but he's just quiet. Mm-hmm. So that's what he was referencing, that he, in his own creative work, just fucking picked Penn and Teller up and dropped it into his own world. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Well,
you
know what?
One.
It's fine. Take a stripe away from my geek shirt.
I did.
Rip sound.
Oh, yeah. We need to get better audio clips on this show.
We don't have any.
Yeah, true.
So, anything else to say? What did you... I know we're, like, running the clock here.
We are.
Who gives a shit, right?
Right.
What did you learn from these 7 podcasts that we could potentially apply to this one?
Well, one big thing is we need a damn theme song.
Yeah, okay.
Every one of these has a theme song and it adds character to it. We don't have it, and we've been getting along pretty good without it, but I think that...
we can put one on.
Yeah, but this definitely helped me learn that's good.
Yeah.
Also, these people are very good at keeping the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. One of the things I was very impressed with the last podcast on Left in particular is they were able to do their own bits, and they didn't cross over each other at all. And it was entirely self-contained. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, not that being distracted is bad. I think it's good that we get away from the topic of the Undertaking. But I was very impressed at how almost mathematical their bits were.
But it still felt natural.
Right, because it was like, they would start doing a bit and they would bring it all back and it'd be like, yeah. And anyway, and then Richard Kuklinski went and killed this guy. And it was, I don't know, that really impressed me. So that's something that I think that we should try to work on too.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm. One thing I took away from this is like, wow, there are a lot of duos in podcasts.
There are.
Which makes me think we're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
There's already 2 of us. We have a microphone. We're doing things.
We
didn't forget to hit record this time.
Are you sure?
Wait. No, we're good.
Oh, we're good. Okay, thank God.
But it's great, and honestly, the big thing this Undertaking got me to do is think like, wow, we've got an exciting podcast life ahead of us.
True, and like I said, I want to emphasize for everybody out there, we know nothing, because a lot of these podcasts are really cool because they're experts talking about what they're experts or passionate in.
Yes.
And,
And while we'll mention our passions often, I'm sure,
mm-hmm.
and we do have some undertakings that involve things we're passionate about,
mm-hmm.
there's also a lot in here that we chose to do it because we don't know anything about it.
Right.
And I think that's where the interest comes in. We're experts at not knowing shit.
We are. Exactly. We're morons. Thank you for joining us.
That's our name, the Oxymorons.
All right, Pick and Bucket?
Pick and Bucket. Did I pick last week?
You picked last week, so I'll pick this week.
So allow me to pass you the pretty pink Pick and Bucket for you to pick out of.
Shake it up.
Shake it up. There's a bunch of things in here. I'm excited. Please don't be a terrible one.
Let's see. Skills that won't pay bills.
Ooh.
Spend a week perfecting a useless skill.
And they can't see the air quotes, but useless as in card throwing, juggling, something on that line. 2 things I already know how to do, by the way.
Yeah, you're way ahead of me on this one.
But that just means I had to pick something more obscure.
And like I said, we're idiots. So, I have a wide command of thoroughly useless knowledge, and now I will have a wide command of thoroughly useless skills.
There you go.
I don't know what one I'll pick. But
I think this is like the first week where it's like not specifically day by day, just throughout the week. master something, and that's exciting to me.
Great party tricks. I love it.
Yes, that's like on my rules of success. Like that's like number 40 or something. Like have at least 3 useless skills / tricks because they come in handy at parties.
Right. Very true. Very true.
Every time I went to a party in college, they're like, Alex, juggle, and then I did.
That's awesome.
So it comes in handy.
Definitely does.
And we'll be back with those skills next week. I don't know. We might do like a little video or something if they're visual skills along with the podcast.
Right.
We'll see.
We will see indeed. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Follow us on social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
All in the description. Wait.
I'm not.
Wait.
I'm waiting.
Wait 50 minutes.
You really...
We did it.
Great.
Episode fucking 8. We already made it to 50 minutes. This is a 30-minute podcast.
Quote unquote. Yes.
Yeah, around there.
I think that we've averaged 40 minutes, and this definitely drags us up.
Yeah, well, that's good, you know. You have a long one. The last 2 weeks were pretty short.
They were indeed.
So have a long one.
All right. Well, if you have a suggestion, please contact us either through one of those social medias or at our email.
Which is also in the description.
Also,
don't say it.
Hey, I'm not going. All right, fine. All right, so thank you for joining us. Until next week, don't forget to challenge yourself.
And try something new and all that jazz.
And
this is where the theme song would play.
If we had one.
Yeah. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Okay, bye.
Bye.